Pride is the mask we wear when our heart is too afraid to speak the truth. My friends, that's where we begin today. Because let me tell you something. Someone out there is thinking about you right now, not in a casual way, not in passing, but deeply, repeatedly, quietly. And yet, you won't hear a word from them. Why? Because pride has chained their tongue. Now, before we dive deep, do me a favor. Press that like button, hit subscribe, and stay with me until the end. Because if you don't, you're going to miss the part that flips the whole game upside down. Hey folks, imagine this for a moment. You're standing in front of a giant glass wall. On the other side is someone you care about. They see you see them, and their lips are moving, but no sound comes out. They're saying everything in their mind, but you can't hear it because pride is soundproof glass. They want to reach for you, but their own reflection gets in the way. That's what silence looks like when pride takes over. It's not emptiness, it's pressure. Here's the lie we've all been sold. If they cared, they'd tell you. Sounds good, right? But the truth is far more complicated. Sometimes, the more they care, the quieter they get. Because, folks, vulnerability has been dressed up as weakness in this world. Society has drilled it into their heads. The one who breaks first loses. The one who admits their feelings hands over power. So what do? They put on a mask. They scroll past your name. They hover over the send button. They type and delete. And you think their silence means indifference, when really it's a storm inside them that never gets spoken. Think of it like this. Pride is like a guard dog sitting at the gate of their heart. Every time emotion tries to sneak out, I miss you. I want to talk to you. That dog barks, growls, and chases it back inside. They're not being cold because they don't care. They're being cold because they care too much. And that's something most people never realize. And here's where the fun part comes in. You ever seen someone post a random selfie at midnight? Or drop one of those cryptic quotes like, "Sometimes silence says more than words"? Come on. We've all seen it. That's not random, folks. That's pride trying to speak in code. It's like throwing a message in a bottle into the ocean, hoping you'll be the one to find it. They won't say it straight, but every move they make online is just one big question. Do you still see me? But here's where it gets tricky. Most people make the wrong move. They chase, they double text, they explain themselves, they try to fix silence with effort. And that, my friends, is exactly how you lose the game. Because effort without respect doesn't equal love, it equals weakness. Think about it. If you're running after someone who's hiding behind pride, you're not breaking down their walls, you're feeding them bricks. So what's the truth? The truth is that silence isn't your enemy, it's your test. It's not there to break you, it's there to reveal you. Are you the one who panics in the dark, or are you the one who can sit still, calm, centered and grounded while the silence gets heavier and heavier? Because let me tell you, your stillness has weight, your calmness has power. And when you don't fold, when you don't chase, when you don't try to rescue them from their own pride, that's when the whole dynamic flips. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." And that's exactly the energy you need here. Because the more you can hold steady, the more they start to feel your absence. At first, they think silence protects them. But then, slowly, it turns into pressure, into doubt, into longing. And before long, your absence is louder than any words you could have spoken. So let's break the lie right now. Silence does not mean they've forgotten you. Silence does not mean you don't matter. It means their pride is louder than their longing. But if you can master the art of stillness, you'll see how quickly the mask begins to crack. So stay with me, because we're about to dive deeper into exactly what's happening inside their mind when they go silent, and how your discipline becomes your greatest weapon. My friends, remember this: calm is power. Silence is strength, and self-respect is magnetic. Type this in the comments right now. I choose stillness. Press that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and let's keep going. Number 1. The war between their emotion and their ego. It is not the voice of reason that holds people back, but the chains of pride. My friends, let's break this down. They are thinking about you, right now, not in a small way, not like a passing car on the street that you glance at and forget. No, you live in their mind like a song they can't turn off. But here's the twist. You won't hear a word of it. Why? Because their pride has declared war against their heart. Imagine this for a moment. Inside of them, there are two generals standing on opposite sides of a battlefield. On one side is their heart, waving the white flag, whispering, "Reach out. Say something. Don't lose this connection." On the other side is their ego, armored up, screaming, "Stay silent. Don't you dare break first. If you do, you lose." And what happens? Day after day, their heart gathers courage, steps forward to cross the line, but the ego fires back with fear, with doubt, with memories of rejection. So they freeze. They do nothing. To you, it looks like silence. To them, it feels like survival. Now here's what starts to mess with your mind. You begin asking yourself, if they care, why don't they just say it? If I matter, why don't they reach out? Maybe I never mattered at all. That's the lie creeping in. The lie that silence equals indifference. But I'm here to tell you, folks, silence is rarely that simple. Sometimes silence is the loudest proof of all. Think about it. If someone truly didn't care, there would be no hesitation, no hovering over your name, no half-written messages, no replaying conversations in their mind. Indifference doesn't stall, it moves on. Pride does the stalling. Pride keeps them frozen because to admit they care would be to risk rejection, to risk losing control, to risk you knowing how deeply you still live inside them. And let's be real, this fear isn't born overnight. It's planted by the world around them. From childhood, from heartbreaks, from the culture we live in, they've been taught this toxic rule. The one who breaks silence first loses the game. Vulnerability equals weakness. Emotion equals losing value. That conditioning runs so deep that even when their soul is crying out to reconnect, their pride is louder. Picture it like this. They're standing on the edge of a cliff, looking at you across the canyon. They want to leap, they want to build the bridge, but the fear of falling is greater than the desire to cross. So they stay on their side, waving silently, hoping you'll come over instead. And the more afraid they are of losing you, the more tightly they grip their silence. That's the paradox. It's not lack of care that keeps them quiet, it's the intensity of care. And here's where the storm brews inside you. You start thinking, maybe it's your fault. Maybe you didn't say enough, do enough, show enough. You might feel the urge to chase, to fill the silence with words, to try to rescue them from their pride. But let me break that lie right now. You cannot save someone from a battle they're fighting within themselves. If you chase them in their silence, you don't bring them closer. You push them deeper into the arms of their ego, because now they feel safe again, safe knowing they never had to risk vulnerability, safe knowing you broke first. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." And my friends, there's power in that. Their silence is not truth, it's fear. Their silence is not clarity, it's confusion. So don't misinterpret it as rejection. Instead, see it for what it is. Resistance, a mask, a wall. Not against you, but against their own feelings. I know it hurts. It hurts to remember how warm they once were, how open, how connected, and to face the cold distance now. It hurts to see one-word replies where there used to be paragraphs, It hurts to feel like you're standing in a room where you used to matter, and now you're invisible. But remember this, walls are not built to erase what's inside. Walls are built to protect it. Their silence doesn't erase the emotion, it only hides it. Why is it so difficult for them to break the silence? Because the moment they do, they feel like they hand you the pen to rewrite the story. They fear you'll reject them. They fear you'll use their honesty against them. They fear that admitting they care makes them lose the power they've been told to cling to. And so, they hold the line. They play the role. They swallow their words and hope that you'll do the work instead. But here's the wisdom, my friends. You can't let their silence define your worth. You can't let their fear become your cage. Because if you spend your days trying to decode their silence, you'll lose yourself in their ego's war. The truth is simple. You are not here to fight their battles. You are here to stand in your own strength, your own calm, your own presence. Think of yourself as a lighthouse. Ships may come close. They may sail away. Storms may crash against the shore, but the lighthouse does not chase the waves. It does not dim its light to beg a ship to notice it. It stands tall, steady, unshaken, and because of that, it commands respect. That is who you must become in the face of their silence, the lighthouse, not the storm. And when you live this way, something powerful happens. Your stillness becomes pressure. Your calmness becomes their mirror. And while they sit in silence, wondering why you haven't cracked, why you haven't begged, why you haven't folded, suddenly the weight shifts. Suddenly they're the ones questioning themselves. Why haven't they reached out? Did I lose them? Were they stronger than I thought? And in that moment, you've already won, not because you played a game, but because you refused to lose yourself. So here's the affirmation I want you to write in the comments right now. I rise above their silence. Say it to yourself. Show it to the world. Declare it not just for them to see, but for you to live. Because your worth was never meant to be proven through chasing, begging, or breaking yourself down to rescue someone trapped by pride. Stay with me, folks, because what comes next will hit even deeper. We're going to peel back the mask of indifference and reveal how every post, every story, every quiet move they make is not random. It's coded. And when you understand that code, you'll never see silence the same way again. Number 2. Why vulnerability feels dangerous. We fear being seen for who we are because we believe who we are won't be enough. My friends, that one cuts deep. Because here's the truth. When they stay silent, when they hold back, it's not because there's nothing to say. It's because vulnerability, to them, feels like standing naked in a room full of strangers, with every flaw, every scar, every doubt on display. And nothing terrifies them more than the thought of being exposed and rejected. Imagine this. They're holding a glass heart in their hands. They want to pass it to you, to let you see it, to let you hold it. But in their mind, the moment they stretch out their arms, the risk doubles. What if you drop it? What if you take it and never give it back? What if you don't even want it at all? That's the danger their pride convinces them of. So instead of reaching, they clutch it tighter to their chest, pretending they never wanted to give it in the first place. You see, folks, the world has trained them to believe vulnerability equals weakness. Movies, songs, even the people they grew up around, all pushing the same message. The one who cares less wins. The one who stays silent holds the power. So they practice it like an art. They learn to smile when they want to cry. They learn to scroll instead of speak. They learn to mask longing with indifference. And deep inside, they convince themselves this performance is safer than the truth. But let me ask you this. What kind of safety is built on hiding? What kind of connection can grow when both people are wearing armor? The answer is none. That's the tragedy of pride. It protects them from pain, but also blocks them from love. Now here's the lie most of you have been taught. If they really cared, they'd tell you. That sounds logical. It even feels fair. But it ignores the inner war they're fighting. Because caring doesn't automatically erase fear. Sometimes the more they care, the more afraid they become. Afraid of being laughed at, misunderstood, dismissed. Afraid that if they step forward with honesty, you'll step back with silence. So instead, they stay quiet and let pride build the walls higher. Think of it like this. Every unspoken word is a brick. Every deleted message is mortar. Every fake smile is another layer. And before long, they've built a fortress around their heart. From the outside, you see a strong, unbothered figure. On the inside, it's just someone curled up in a corner, wishing they had the courage to break free. And here's the tough part, my friends. This conditioning didn't start with you. You didn't cause it. It began long before you ever entered their life. Maybe it was the first time they opened up to someone and were laughed at. Maybe it was when they gave too much and were left behind. Maybe it was when they were told, "Don't be so emotional, don't be so needy." Those voices echo in their mind every time they think about breaking the silence. So when you wonder, why don't they just reach out? Why don't they just say it? Remember this. They're not fighting you, they're fighting their past. And the past has taught them pride is armor, silence is protection, and vulnerability is a battlefield where they'll always lose. But let me break this lie for you. Vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is courage. It takes no strength to hide. It takes strength to show up raw, unfiltered, and real. Pride will tell them silence keeps them safe, but pride never tells them that safety and loneliness often live in the same house. Here's what makes this even harder. They see silence as power, but deep down, silence is fear. And fear doesn't create attraction. Fear doesn't create connection. Fear only delays the truth. They think holding back gives them control, but really it robs them of the very thing they crave, authentic love. Now, don't mistake this for a cue to rescue them. Don't take their silence as a challenge to fix them. You cannot fight their battle for them. The only thing you can do is understand what's happening, hold your center, and refuse to let their fear dictate your worth. Because when you stay grounded, when you don't fold into chasing, you shine a light on their pride. And that light is what eventually makes them question, makes them doubt, makes them realize silence has cost them more than honesty ever could. So here's where you rise, my friends. You don't crumble because they're afraid. You don't beg because they're silent. You don't explain yourself to break through walls that only they can tear down. Instead, you stand tall. You keep your frame. You live as proof that vulnerability doesn't destroy, it transforms. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Their silence is what happens. Your stillness, your strength, your discipline, that's your reaction. And that's where your power lives. Write this in the comments right now. I choose strength over fear. Show yourself, show the world, and remind them too. Because, folks, the truth is clear. Vulnerability may feel dangerous to them, but for you, it's the reason you'll rise above. Stay with me, because next we're going to uncover the mask of indifference, the one they wear online, in public, in every move that looks casual but is really coded longing. And when you see that mask for what it is, you'll never be fooled by silence again. Number 3. The mask of indifference. The greatest lies are not spoken with words, but with silence and a smile. My friends, let's talk about the mask they wear, because here's what confuses you most. One day you felt their warmth, you heard their laughter, you saw their excitement in every word they wrote, in every call they made, in every look they gave you, and then suddenly, silence. Suddenly, they become distant, cold, and indifferent. It feels like they vanished, replaced by someone else entirely, and you sit there wondering, was it all fake? Did they ever even care? But listen carefully. What you're seeing now is not the truth. It's the mask of indifference. It's not who they are. It's who they've learned to become when pride takes the wheel. Imagine this: a stage, a spotlight, and an actor stepping out in costume. To the audience, they look confident, composed, untouchable, but behind the curtain, they're trembling, pacing, repeating their lines because they're terrified of messing up. That's what this mask is. It's their performance, the role they've rehearsed for years. I'm fine. I don't care. I've moved on. But my friends, actors don't always play themselves. And silence doesn't always mean peace. Now think about the little things they do. They post a picture at midnight, looking like life has never been better. They share a quote that says, "Sometimes silence is the loudest answer." They like someone's photo just when they know you'll see it. To most people, it looks casual. To you, it feels calculated. And you're not wrong, because those are not random moves. That's coded language. That's pride speaking in riddles. Here's the lie most men fall for. If they're posting, if they're smiling, if they're quiet, it must mean they're happy without you. But here's the truth. If they were truly unbothered, they wouldn't be sending signals at all. Indifference doesn't try to be seen. Indifference doesn't perform. The very fact that they need to project "I'm fine" is proof that they're not. The more effort someone puts into looking unbothered, the more bothered they really are. But here's where it gets dangerous. If you take the mask at face value, you'll panic. You'll think, they've moved on. I need to fight harder. I need to remind them what we had. And so, you chase. You double text. You try to interpret every post, every emoji, every quote. You get caught in the game they're playing without even realizing it. And let me tell you, once you start playing, you've already lost. Because the mask isn't there for you to understand. It's there for you to react. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." And that's exactly what this mask of indifference is. It's not truth. It's perspective. It's a wall built out of fear and pride, not reality. But if you take it as fact, you'll fall into the trap of chasing what isn't real. Now let me be clear, it's not easy to resist reacting. When you see them smiling in pictures, when you see them acting like nothing happened, it cuts deep. You start questioning yourself. Was I not enough? Did I mean nothing? How could they move on so fast? That pain is real, but don't mistake the performance for reality. Because the truth is, behind every selfie is a person wondering if you'll notice. Behind every quote is a mind replaying your last conversation. Behind every night of silence is a heart typing and deleting, afraid to be the one who breaks first. Why do they do it? Because vulnerability feels like danger. Because silence feels like safety. Because pride tells them, if they still care, they'll come to you. So they wear the mask, hoping you'll break before they do. Hoping your need for clarity will outweigh their fear of exposure. But here's the power move, my friends. You don't chase the mask. You don't respond to the performance. You don't let coded messages pull you out of your frame. Because the moment you react, the mask wins. Instead, you stay still. You let the mask crack on its own. And trust me, masks always crack. Because no one can pretend forever. Sooner or later, silence turns heavy, and the weight of indifference becomes unbearable. Think of yourself as the mirror. When you remain calm, grounded, unbothered, you force them to see their own reflection. They start questioning, why aren't they reacting? Why aren't they folding? Why aren't they chasing me like everyone else did? And in that moment, their mask doesn't protect them, it exposes them. So let's end this with truth. Their mask of indifference is not proof of strength, it's proof of fear. Their silence is not proof of absence, it's proof of struggle. Don't let it trick you into lowering your value. Instead, rise above it. Type this in the comments right now. I see through the mask. Show it to yourself. Show it to the world. Because once you see the mask for what it is, you can never be fooled by it again. And stay with me, folks, because next we're going to break down the biggest trap of all, the mistake most people make when faced with silence, and why chasing pride is the surest way to lose yourself. Number 4. The mistake most people make. We lose ourselves the moment we try to prove our worth to someone blind to it. My friends, this is the turning point, because when faced with silence, when faced with that mask of indifference, most people make the exact mistake that guarantees they lose respect, value, and power. They chase, they panic, they fold. And let me tell you, chasing pride is like pouring water into a broken jar. No matter how much you give, it never fills. Picture this. You're walking through a desert, thirsty, desperate for water. In the distance, you see what looks like an oasis, a glimmer of blue shimmering under the sun. You run, heart racing, lungs burning, convinced salvation is near. But when you reach it, you find nothing but sand. A mirage. That's what chasing their silence is. It looks like the answer, but it leaves you emptier than before. This is where most people go wrong. They think effort can fix everything. They believe if they just explain themselves one more time, if they send that long text, if they make that heartfelt call, if they pour out everything they're feeling, the silence will break. But instead, the opposite happens. The more you try, the more they pull away. Why? Because in their mind, effort without balance doesn't equal love. It equals weakness. And that's the part that stings, because you're not weak for caring. You're not weak for wanting connection. But when your care crosses into chasing, when your desire for clarity overrides your self-respect, the message you send isn't love, it's dependence. And dependence kills attraction faster than any silence ever could. Think about this. Every time you chase someone who is pulling away, you reinforce their belief that they hold the power. You show them that your emotions are in their hands. You tell them without words, I'll lower myself to keep you. I'll abandon my dignity so you don't abandon me. And my friends, the moment you send that message, the game is over. Not because they won, but because you lost yourself. Seneca once wrote, "A man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than necessary." And isn't that exactly what happens when you chase silence? You torture yourself with words they never asked for, with effort they never earned, with energy that only drains you. You suffer twice, once from their silence, and again from your own desperation. Now let me break another lie. Movies, songs, and even the advice we've been fed tell us, if they pull away, fight harder. Show them you care. Prove your love. It sounds noble, doesn't it? But in reality, it's poison. Because love that has to be proven through begging isn't love. It's negotiation. And real connection doesn't require you to sacrifice your worth just to be seen. Here's the ugly truth. When you chase, you teach them to respect you less. You teach them that you'll always be there no matter how distant they become. You teach them that silence doesn't come with consequences. And in doing so, you don't bring them closer. You make yourself smaller. But let's be clear, it's not easy to resist the urge. When someone you care about grows cold, when they stop saying what they used to, your mind goes into overdrive. Questions swirl. Did I do something wrong? Are they with someone else? Was everything we shared a lie? That panic drives most people to act, to break the silence, to try to restore what's slipping away, and in the process, they hand over the very thing they should have protected most: their frame, their center, their power. Let me give you another metaphor. Imagine you're playing tug of war. At first you both hold the rope tight, pulling, testing each other's strength. Then suddenly they let go. And what happens? You stumble, fall back, hit the ground, not because they pulled harder, but because you were the one still holding on. That's what chasing looks like. You're gripping the rope of connection while they've already let go, and the harder you pull, the harder you fall. So, what's the alternative? The alternative is discipline. The alternative is restraint. The alternative is refusing to play a game that was never yours to win, because the truth is, chasing doesn't break their silence. It feeds it. Chasing doesn't melt their pride. It validates it. The only way to win against silence is not to fight it at all. And here's the motivation I want you to hold on to. You are not here to prove yourself. You are not here to audition for someone's attention. You are not here to beg someone to see your worth. You are here to embody it, to stand firm in it, to show the world that whether they speak or stay silent, your value does not move. My friends, type this in the comments right now. I refuse to chase. Show yourself. Show the world. Because the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop begging, the moment you stop trying to decode silence like it's a puzzle, it's the moment you rise. And here's the twist. When you rise, when you stay still, when you let silence speak louder than effort, that's when they begin to feel the weight of what they've lost. Stay with me, because next we're going to uncover the power of stillness. Why doing nothing at all is not a weakness, but the strongest move you could ever make, and how your silence, instead of chasing theirs, becomes the message they can't ignore. Number 5, the power of stillness. The closer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Marcus Aurelius. My friends, let that sink in. Because this right here is the part where most people crumble. They believe action equals strength, that if something's broken, you fix it. If someone pulls away, you chase them. If silence stretches, you fill it. And yet, the paradox of life, and especially of relationships, is this. Sometimes the strongest move you can make is no move at all. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind is howling, the rain is pounding, trees are swaying, everything around you feels chaotic. Most people panic in storms. They run, they shout, they flail, thinking they can outmaneuver nature. But a mountain does not move. It doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it doesn't beg the storm to stop. It simply stands. That's the power of stillness. That's the energy you need when faced with their silence. Here's the mistake most people make. They think silence is a gap to be filled. They feel the discomfort, the uncertainty, the not knowing, and they rush in with words. They send the late-night text, the just checking in, the paragraphs of explanation. They believe if they pour effort into the void will disappear. But what really happens? The void grows. Because silence isn't meant to be filled. Silence is meant to be felt. And if you can't sit with silence, you'll never understand its power. Let me hit you with a truth bomb. When you rush to break silence, you rob yourself of the one thing that makes you magnetic. Mystery. The unknown. The stillness that forces them to feel the absence of your presence. Because here's what they expect. They expect you to fold. They expect you to chase. They expect you to panic. And when you don't, when you stay still, when you let silence hang heavy in the air without rushing to fix it, that's when everything shifts. Think about it. The less you react, the more they start to feel. The quieter you become, the louder their doubts grow. They start asking themselves, why haven't they reached out? Did I push too far? Did I lose someone who actually mattered? Your stillness becomes a mirror, reflecting their internal conflict back at them, and the longer you hold your ground, the heavier that mirror feels. But don't get it twisted. Stillness is not indifference. It's not about playing cold games or pretending you don't care. It's about discipline. It's about knowing that your value isn't proven through chasing. It's about showing them that you are not shaken by temporary emotion. You are centered, grounded, and untouchable. That's the kind of strength people respect, even if they don't admit it. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." And freedom, my friends, comes when you're no longer a prisoner to reaction, when you're free from the compulsion to fix, to chase, to fold at the first sign of silence. That's bravery. That's stillness. Now I know what you're thinking. It's not easy. Sitting with silence feels like sitting in the dark. Your mind races. What if they forgot me? What if they've moved on? What if I never hear from them again? That fear is real. But let me remind you, reacting to fear has never built respect. Only courage does. And courage isn't found in chasing. It's found in holding steady when everything in you wants to move. Think of yourself like a flame. When the wind blows, a weak flame flickers, bends, and dies. But a strong flame adjusts, grows taller, brighter, more resilient. That's what your stillness does. It shows that no matter how strong the wind of silence blows, your fire remains. And that energy, that calm, becomes unforgettable. Here's the beauty of stillness. It flips the dynamic. Suddenly they're the one feeling the silence. They're the one lying awake at night, phone in hand, typing and deleting. They're the one wondering why you haven't broken, why you haven't folded like the rest. And in that wondering, in that questioning, attraction reignites. Not because you played a game, but because you showed strength. So here's what I want you to take with you. The power of stillness is the power of presence. You don't have to prove your worth with effort. You don't have to earn respect through chasing. You simply have to stand steady and unshaken while the storm rages around you. Because storms pass, but mountains remain. Write this affirmation in the comments right now. I am the mountain. Show yourself, show the world. Because the moment you embrace stillness, you stop being the one who chases and become the one who is remembered. And stay with me, my friends, because next we'll break the lie of effort. Why trying harder when they pull away doesn't win love, but destroys respect. Number 6. Effort without respect equals weakness. Respect is worth more than attention, because without respect, attention fades. My friends, let's cut deep into a truth that most people refuse to face. We've all been raised on the lie that if someone pulls away, you should try harder. That if they go silent, you should double your effort. That love is about proving, persuading, convincing. But here's the reality. Effort without respect isn't love. It's weakness. It's you abandoning yourself to keep someone who doesn't value you. Think about this. Imagine pouring water into a cup with a hole at the bottom. You keep pouring and pouring, but no matter how much you give, it never fills. That's what chasing looks like when respect is missing. Your energy leaks out, your worth drains, and all you're left with is exhaustion and emptiness, wondering why they never appreciated what you gave. But it's not because you weren't enough. It's because respect was never there to hold the effort. Here's the hard truth. Effort is only valuable when it's reciprocated, when it's matched, when it's honored. Otherwise, it's just noise. And yet, so many fall into the trap of thinking, if I just show them more, maybe they'll see me. If I just prove how much I care, maybe they'll come back. But instead of drawing them closer, it pushes them further away. Why? Because in their eyes, desperation kills attraction. Effort without respect doesn't look noble, it looks needy. Picture this. You're standing at a door, knocking again and again. At first, maybe they hear it. Maybe they even peek through the window. But when they refuse to open, and you keep pounding louder, longer, harder, what happens? You don't look like someone worth welcoming in. You look like someone who doesn't know when to walk away. That's not strength. That's surrender. And here's the tragedy. Most people confuse self-betrayal for love. They think sacrificing their dignity is proof of devotion. They think giving without boundaries shows loyalty. But let me break that lie right now. Real love doesn't require you to lose yourself. Real love doesn't demand you abandon your self-respect. Because when you trade respect for effort, you don't gain love. You lose attraction, dignity, and peace all at once. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." And my friends, it is not right to keep giving to someone who only takes. It is not true to call it love when it's really fear. Because effort born out of fear, fear of losing them, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough, will never inspire respect. It only confirms weakness. Now let's talk psychology. When you chase, when you beg, when you double your effort in the face of silence, what do you teach them? You teach them that your emotions are negotiable, that they can give you less and you'll still show up with more, that they can disappear and you'll still be waiting. You hand them the power dynamic on a silver platter, and once they know they can control you, respect evaporates. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying to prove yourself, when you pull your effort back, when you hold your dignity above their silence, that's when they feel your value. Because effort doesn't create attraction, boundaries do. Respect doesn't grow from chasing, it grows from self-control. I know it's hard, folks. You want to fix it. You want to heal it. You want to restore what feels broken, but you can't build respect by erasing yourself. You can't inspire love by proving you're worthy of it. You're already worthy. Your job isn't to prove it, it's to protect it. So let me give you this picture. A crown doesn't beg to be noticed. A diamond doesn't shout for recognition. Their value is not proven by effort. It's inherent. The people who see it will honor it. The people who don't, won't. And no amount of chasing, no amount of proving, no amount of bending yourself will change that. So here's your call, my friends. Stop pouring into cups with holes. Stop knocking on doors that stay closed. Stop proving yourself to people who already know your worth, but choose to ignore it, because the moment you stop, the moment you reclaim your effort, is the moment you remind the world that your respect is non-negotiable. Type this affirmation in the comments right now. My respect is my power. Show it to yourself. Show it to the world. Let it echo beyond the silence. Because when you choose respect over effort, you flip the dynamic. You stop being the one chasing and become the one remembered. And stay with me, because next we're going to expose the real shift, how silence, instead of killing connection, becomes the spark that makes them miss you in ways words never could. Number 7. When silence makes them miss you. Sometimes the loudest message is the one never spoken. My friends, let's take this even deeper. Because here's the paradox most never see. Silence, the very thing that feels like rejection, can become the trigger that makes them miss you. Not by accident, not by manipulation, but by the simple fact that absence has weight, and your discipline can turn that weight into undeniable presence. Think about this. When someone goes silent, they expect one of two things. Either you'll chase or you'll crumble. They're counting on you to fold, to break, to fill the void. But when you don't, when you remain calm, grounded, unshaken, suddenly silence doesn't protect them anymore. Suddenly silence starts working against them. Imagine a room with no sound. At first, the quiet feels peaceful. Then, as the minutes stretch, it grows heavy. You hear your own heartbeat. You hear your thoughts echo louder. That's exactly what happens in their mind when you stay silent. At first, they think, good, they're not reaching out. But as hours turn to days, their thoughts get louder. Why haven't they folded yet? Why aren't they chasing like the others? Did they move on? Did I lose them? And in that moment, your stillness becomes power. Here's the truth. People don't miss effort. They miss presence. They miss energy. They miss the calm certainty you carried when you were around. And nothing exposes that loss more than silence. Because words can be ignored. Effort can be dismissed. But absence lingers. It gnaws. It unsettles. This is why chasing never works. When you chase, you give them no space to feel your absence. You feed their ego, not their emotion. But when you stop chasing, when you allow silence to stretch, you leave them alone with their own thoughts. And trust me, my friends, their thoughts are far louder than your words could ever be. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." And isn't that what happens when we waste time chasing silence? Instead of letting it work for us, we panic and sabotage ourselves. But when you understand that silence is not your enemy but your ally, you stop wasting effort. You start letting time do what words cannot. Now, let me give you a metaphor. Picture yourself as a fire. When you were there, they felt your warmth. They got used to the glow, to the heat, to the comfort. But then, suddenly, you step back. No warmth, no glow, no light. At first, they pretend it doesn't matter. But as the night gets colder, as the darkness stretches, they remember. They feel the difference. They realize what's gone. And in that realization, missing you is inevitable. But here's where most people fail. They break too soon. They panic when silence feels heavy. They rush in with a text, a call, a post, anything to relieve the discomfort. And in doing so, they rob themselves of the very power silence was building. Don't be that person. Be the one who holds steady. Be the one who lets silence do its work. Because here's the secret. Your silence is not just absence, it's contrast. It's showing them the difference between a world with you and a world without you. And if you were truly valuable, if your presence truly mattered, that contrast will be impossible to ignore. That's when silence stops being their weapon and becomes your leverage. And let's be clear, it's not about punishing them, it's not about games, it's about dignity. It's about showing that your energy is not free to those who won't respect it, that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. That if they want access again, it has to come with effort, clarity, and respect. So, my friends, let's close this chapter with power. If you remember nothing else, remember this. You do not win respect by chasing silence. You win it by becoming still enough to let silence reveal the truth. Because if they feel nothing in your absence, then they were never yours to begin with. But if they do, if the silence grows heavy, if the absence echoes, if the weight unsettles them, then your discipline just became the loudest message of all. Write this in the comments right now. My silence is my power. Show it to yourself, show it to the world. And if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of the strength you've always had inside, press that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because, my friends, the journey doesn't end here. It begins with your choice to value yourself above their silence. Stay with me, because the next time we meet, we'll go even deeper into what it means to live as the mountain, still, strong, and unforgettable.